Confession time. At the end of my third year in college, my carefully pruned Christian faith was in tatters. I didn't attend services at chapel anymore. I refused to take the bread and wine. I spent as much of my time as I could around artists, philosophers, and pagans, finding their quiescent yearnings easier to swallow than the prepackaged anti-intellectual Lunchables served by pastors in their weekly regurgitations of a book it seemed they had stopped reading. You see, I was a theology major, and I was convinced by my professors, who hardly asked me to open a Bible in all my years of study, that this religion was past its prime. The closest to prayer for me was sitting in an empty chapel on my Christian campus, engaging in the Byzantine practice of Historia, repeating the prayer of Sophronius, "Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner." But after a while, that felt meaningless, especially when my study inferred that God is merely a divine idea existing within us. George Marsden, in the conclusion to his book, The Outrageous Idea of Christian Scholarship, demanded Christian scholars suffer secular universities to include them as a rigorous academic discipline, and engage seriously with their prodigal family in intellectual excellence. Unfortunately for me, too late. Marsden published his book in 1998, 1 year before I began my college years, barely enough time to design a class, much less foster a revolution in my Christian university. But I'm not the only one. John Turner, in his article Confessions of a Failed Christian Historian, remarks that although he went into his dream job as a love letter to Marsden's The Outrageous Idea, he failed to properly integrate his faith with his scholarship, even though he did not shirk from wearing his Christianity on his coattails. Either the thorns were just too deeply buried in the skin of our American institutions, or the dream of integration was too vast a mountain to conquer. In Philip Ryken's The Soul of the American University Refreshed, he explains this failed phenomenon the result of just not enough done. Although Christian universities, like Ryken's Wheaton, set up conferences, seminars, and year-long training programs for faculty, he still maintains that not compromising and the drive towards distinctiveness should be front and center, seeming to miss Marsden's point of scholars not hiding in a hole, but directly demanding engagement with non-Christian institutions of higher learning. Perry Glanzer may have a solution. In his Recognizing Christian Complexity and Secular Privilege in Higher Education, I believe Glanzer's comparison between secular and Christian institutions is a clue as to why the last 25 years of institution building has largely failed scholars like Turner. Glanzer posits that secular institutions have historical amnesia. Students at these schools are not taught basic religious literacy or reasoning, and their religion courses are reductive to an embarrassing degree, resulting 78% of all American students into religious illiteracy. Like Marsden, Glanzer demands these institutions rectify this mental disability within American intellectualism. But he also suggests that Christians and non-Christians working at these schools boldly come forward and declare their own positionalities, while encouraging their schools to adopt the concept of secular presuppositions when designing educational frameworks. I rediscovered my faith when a friend gave me Charles Ryrie's Basic Theology. Funny thing, as a student of theology, I had never heard of Ryrie, and even funnier, when I read his criticism of Karl Barth, his scathing indictment of Schleiermacher's God consciousness, and his argument against Bultmann's Logos, that was the moment my faith came back to me. It wasn't that I agreed with Ryrie. I'm not sure I did then, and I'm not sure I do today. But it was the knowledge that there was criticism of these men who could do no wrong, and that I wasn't informed. That gave me hope. The knowledge that what I had learned might be fallible, and that there was a discussion to be had.